Imagine leaving behind the fast lane of corporate success after IIT and IIM, not to chase power or wealth, but to seek inner stillness. And now, guiding thousands on that path. Today, on our podcast, we have someone who did just that. He's not just an engineer or a management graduate. He's a modern yogi who chose purpose over paychecks, meaning over material, and stillness over stress. Based in Sydney, Abhishek Guru is a full time yoga instructor with Isha Foundation, inspiring countless lives with ancient wisdom in a modern world. From IIT classrooms to Isha meditation halls, his journey is not just rare, it's revolutionary. What made him take this leap from boardroom to ashram? What can we learn from his quest for balance and inner peace? He also performed in many rock bands as a guitarist during his time at IIT and IIM. And he has a degree in audio and acoustics from University of Sydney. Abhishek regularly teaches at Isha Foundation programs in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra, Auckland, Singapore, Malaysia. He's also taught at the Isha Yoga Centers in Coimbatore, India and Los Angeles, US. Let's welcome a man who embodies clarity, courage, and calm, Abhishek Guru. Welcome, Abhishek, to the show. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram, Abhinav. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited to be here.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure is all mine. Abhishek, I've been waiting for this rendezvous for some time now. And thanks for finally being here. I want to start with the first question first, which is about your childhood and how has the journey been?
So, looking back at my childhood, I wouldn't say I had too much of a spiritual inclination growing up. I guess I was just a normal pleasure-seeking individual. And I don't know how I ended up at IIT and IIM. I think it was just peer pressure, let's say. And of course, I did enjoy the challenge of getting into those institutions. But after I got there, something was still missing for me. And eventually, I think I've found that through yoga. And that's been my journey. And music was also a big part of my life.
Exactly. And I think that's a common connection between both of us. Obviously, I'm not so deep into yoga as you are, but I believe
Not yet.
not yet. Yes. So I think I'm also keen to know that you've had such an impressive educational background studying at elite institutions like IIT and IIM. What motivated you or inspired you to try for those colleges, and how did they shape your career?
So I think in school, I was more academically oriented rather than sports and other things, arts. And getting into IIT and IIM, growing up in India, as you know, it's a big deal. In South India, probably more so. And parents wanted me to be there. And I think after a certain age, it's not so much about the parents anymore. It's sort of, you want to do something, you want to prove something to yourself and to people around you. And that was the challenge that I decided to take up, I guess, at that age. And studying in these institutes, I think, gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of different people and different ideologies and so on. I was not destined, I guess, to become a techie or a manager, but a yogi. But being in these places gave me that opportunity to really enjoy the privilege of being in a premier institute, but at the same time living life on my terms. So yeah, being a rock star was something I was aspiring to be for a long time. But again, that's just a certain construct of society, I guess, that appealed to me at a certain point of time. And yeah, right now I think it's not so much about me or what I can be, but uh, what I can do with this life to make yoga happen to others is where my journey is at right now.
But still hard to believe that coming from these colleges where the pressure is immense, the competition is cutthroat, and obviously you can feel that anxiety and the stress in every student in those colleges. Vis-a-vis fast forward when you decided to move to yoga, it's simply hard for me to discern. How did you? Was it your natural uh, approach in life, even though you were there, or you slowly moved to that persona?
Mm, as I said, I was a pleasure seeker, and I would say in many ways I still am, but it's just that the pleasure that I seek now has become a lot more subtle, inward, not superficial. So I guess over time, I slowly sort of deprioritized what most people consider to be uh, pleasurable pursuits, whether it's in the corporate world or whether it's in terms of travel or entertainment or performing or what have you. Yeah.
So did you work in some organization after college, or you straight away decided to move on?
So the probably the last normal sort of job that I did was being an acoustic engineer. This was between 2010 and 2013, just before I took off to do the Hatha Yoga teacher training.
Mhm.
And getting into that role was also quite it was sort of a dream job at the time, because I had to come here as a student from India, do a course in audio and acoustics at the University of Sydney, which was very expensive,
Mhm.
and also live as an international student in a city like Sydney, which is quite challenging financially and otherwise. And yeah, after completing that degree, getting that job was also, I guess, a stroke of luck. But there was a time, when you're stuck between your student visa and your employment visa, where you don't know what's going to happen, and it's a very stressful time. Um, yeah, but after I got that job, things were great. I um, I was getting a very good salary. I was living in a beautiful home, a shared home, but very beautiful location on the edge of the bush in Greenwich, close to North Sydney.
Mhm.
And I had, I used to ride my bicycle to work. So that was quite interesting as well, like almost 15 kilometers every day, twice a day. And yeah, I also got married around the same time, just a year into that job. And things were going great for me career wise.
Mhm.
But I also started volunteering
Mhm.
for Isha at the same time. And after the first experience of volunteering for this inner engineering program, things shifted within me in a big way. and I slowly started to develop or focus on this side of life, which I think a lot of people don't really get exposed to, about making something really powerful happen to people beyond your circle of family or friends is yeah, I would say, yeah, I would say it's probably the highest pleasure that I could experience at the time. And then things changed, and I also became very curious about yoga as a science, as a technology, and wanted to understand why it is that doing a certain practice, using your body and your breath in certain ways, makes such a difference to your state of being and so on. So that's when I decided to pursue the teacher training program.
So I believe you have met Sadhguru a few times, and you have been associated with Isha Foundation for a really long time. How has it impacted you both professionally as well as personally?
So Sadhguru, when I saw him for the first time, it was actually just in between IIT and IIM. That's when I went for my first course at Isha, which was called the Wholeness Program. It was a 10-day residential program. And at the time I was 21, quite, not spiritually inclined at all. I think I just went there more for amusement and curiosity. Like, what happens in an ashram, let's have a look. And someone in my family was going for this program, so they just pulled me along. I was on a break for a year between IIT and IIM. And Sadhguru, of course, he's huge today. Everyone knows about him, but at the time, I think he was not so popular. We didn't have YouTube or anything like that. So seeing him enter the room, I still remember that moment. It was very, I don't know, I can't describe it, but the air changed. It was just a room. We were just people waiting for the program to start. But something happened when he came in. I remember making eye contact with him as well, but I could immediately tell that he's beyond what we consider normal. He's not. But of course, then the mind comes in. The mind questions that, and it took me many, many years to sort of recognize him as a guru, as an enlightened being. But I still remember many moments from that first program where I had a chance to interact with him, and somehow, everything he says gives you, like, at one level, it's very casual, silly, humorous, but at another level, it's so deep and profound, and it applies to sort of your entire life. It's like, I can give you some examples, but that's the way it was with him.
So I've been listening to Sadhguru for a couple of years now. And it all started with, shots of Sadhguru suddenly coming in. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And then you want to start exploring more, because turns out he seems to have answers to all the questions. And we call him a rock star guru because on one hand, he's talking wonderful lessons of life. And then on the other hand, you see him with Will Smith riding a bike. I mean, these are two extremes of a person. But then why does a guru have to be necessarily only sitting in the ashram, He's supposed to reach out to a wider audience because good things have no boundaries. And lately in our circle, amongst our friends, they would suddenly come and say, oh, I saw this video from Sadhguru and he was like this. And I'm like, how come his name keeps coming up every now and then? So I think he's even touching the lives who are not actively scouting or looking for Isha Foundation, but somewhere I believe he had touched upon everyone directly, indirectly. How did your family take your transition from corporate to full-time being a yoga instructor? I'm sure that's a question a lot of people would have asked.
Yeah, they're still coping. They're still coping. Everyone around me is still sort of trying to understand what's happening. My parents, my wife, and extended family, everyone's sort of constantly, I guess, a little puzzled about why I do what I do. But within myself, I'm clear that, I'm doing I'm doing the best thing possible for me as well as for the world, for humanity. So there's no doubt about it.
And I believe you became father 3 years back. So are you teaching something to your younger one, or?
He's turning 4 in a few days. At the moment, no, I'm not really trying to teach him anything, but just sort of experiencing him as a life, as a pure, sort of innocent child that he is. And yeah, I get very emotional when I talk about my son, because I think, it's something so precious being a parent. Yeah, I don't see the need right now to sort of teach him anything, but I think he'll eventually
figure out.
Yeah, he might start doing a little bit of yoga.
I agree.
Yeah.
Look, I know you have touched upon the lives of thousands of students in so many years, with such a busy schedule, visiting different places at different yoga centers. What is the most rewarding part of your training? And obviously, I'm assuming that students come to you with not necessarily issues or problems, but they do come to you because they are looking for that, some maybe the answers to their questions.
Yeah.
So how do you measure the success of your trainings, if you do that?
So this is where I think the approach to teaching, in fact, I don't like to use the word teaching, because it's more of a transmission. I don't know how yoga works, but I know that it works. And I've seen it work for so many people in so many unbelievable ways, that it just baffles me. And when I went for the teacher training, I still had that sort of academic mindset, like, I need to understand how this works. I need to understand how a certain posture, or a certain way of breathing can impact your health and your mind and so on. But even after the teacher training, and even after, what is it now, 12 years of
amazing
being a yoga teacher, I still don't know. I can sort of assume things or imagine things for some time, but the more I do that, the further away I'm going from my core. So it's only when I'm completely empty and just, doing what needs to be done, that the magic really happens. And yeah.
And what about the feedback? I'm sure you get a lot of feedback from your students.
Yes.
What do they come back and tell you? how they feel it has transformed them or helped in the transition.
So for the last probably 7 or 8 years, I've been taking these 21-day programs. So that's my kind of favorite program and also the program that I do most often. So in the 21-day program, students get to learn all the different Hatha Yoga practices together over 21 days. And I used to offer it quite often just down the road from here in Parramatta. And now, of course, I'm offering it for Isha Foundation at different centers. And every time it's a different group of people, different country or city. And somehow over the 21 days, you get to see this very deep transformation, not just in terms of, health or whatever, thought process and so on, but something much, much deeper than that. And when I speak to students after a few months or a few years and listen to their journey and listen to the things they have experienced through these practices and how it has completely changed their life, it means a lot.
What do you call this 21-day program?
So it's called Hatha Yoga Intensive.
Hatha Yoga.
Yeah.
So Hat means
Hatha means literally sun and moon. Ha means sun, Ta means moon. So Hatha Yoga is about bringing a balance between the sun and moon within the human system. It also means stubborn.
Stubborn, yes.
Or adamant.
Adamant.
So that's a more sort of colloquial usage of the word Hatha. And we say that this quality is needed on this path because doing Hatha Yoga, it can be very frustrating if you don't do it with the right attitude because let's face it, it is quite uncomfortable to begin with for a lot of people because of lifestyle and, we're used to sitting on chairs, whatever. But doing yoga in a certain way has very profound benefit, which will take some time for you to notice. So it needs that stubbornness at the start.
Can I also assume that this needs keeping away from the gadgets for those 21 days?
In an ideal world, we would love to ask people to, stay away from their phones for those 21 days. Perhaps we can look into it for future programs. But at the moment, the way it's structured is it's 2.5 hours session early in the morning. So it's usually like 5:30 to 8 a.m.
Okay.
On weekdays and 5:30 to 8:30 or 9 a.m. on weekends. So 2.5 hours weekdays, 3.5 hours weekends.
Okay.
And rest of the day you can do what you do. But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I felt that this needs you to be completely switched off from the world for 21 days. I know there are other programs.
In the same program is offered in the ashram in India as a residential program. And in that program, yes, you're completely immersed in the space. So you do the practices in the morning and in the evening.
Okay.
And you spend the rest of the day, doing other things. But the way we're offering it in cities outside India is, just an early morning session, and then you can go to work and do what you need to do.
And where are you running those programs now?
We have offered it in Sydney as well.
Sydney.
Yeah, but at the moment we've been having some challenges finding a venue in Sydney. But we do offer it more regularly in Melbourne and Singapore, where we have permanent centers.
I think there was a program for kids as well a few weeks back, and my kids participated in that. And it was a good experience, I can tell.
Okay.
At least for a few days. before they were back to their own self. I feel something like that should be done regularly.
Yeah.
And kids need it, obviously, because of so much of distractions out there. So I think that was a wonderful program. My kids really enjoyed. Coming back to, I think we touched upon it, but coming back to my question, sometimes do people come to you and say, look, you're into yoga, great, but do they tell you that you might have wasted your education at IIT, IIM? I'm asking an honest question because that would have come up. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. And of course, it comes up quite often. It's a difficult one, because I understand their perspective. I was just going to joke that, probably most recently it's my father-in-law who's been troubling me about this quite a bit, but I understand their perspective and I understand where they're coming from, but I don't know. It's difficult to convince people, but I think if I look at the impact of what I'm doing now versus what I could be doing, in a, let's say, well-paying corporate job, there's no comparison.
And
Yeah.
is it challenging because financially it may not be as rewarding or as paying as a corporate would, but obviously there's an element of fulfillment and enlightenment as well. So how do you manage? I'm just purely as an individual, I'm really curious to know that.
Yeah, that's a difficult question, but I think we take it one day at a time, I guess. And the ideal situation would be where we sort of accept the way things are and not get too frustrated about what the other people need to do or what we expect other people to do. But that's not always the case. Yeah. So as I said, we're sort of learning to cope.
I agree.
And it's fine. I think I don't think I'm in a situation where it's extreme or anything. It is definitely challenging being in a city like Sydney, but yeah.
So you were
I'm making a difference to, I would say, humanity as a whole, I think, and not just a few lives around me.
Yes.
If that makes a difference.
Yes, I agree. And look, committing yourself is not easy. It's easier said than done. So, which is why I have I have tremendous respect for you for that. And also, you used to run your own studio for a couple of years before you came full time to Isha.
10 years. Almost.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is again something which is not easy, right? I mean, it has been tremendously challenging for you as well. Do you still face those kind of challenges while you are a volunteer, or?
So the thing about entrepreneurship, I think, in this specific context of running a yoga studio, is that eventually it became easy for me to run the studio successfully, profitably, and so on. But again, something was missing in that journey because of two reasons. One thing is that I felt the success was sort of feeding my ego, sense of individuality in a sense. And also I felt that it wasn't allowing me to fulfill my full potential of what I could be doing for humanity. So I'm fortunate that I get to be a part of an organization as big as Isha Foundation with millions of volunteers all over the world, because it's just a completely different scope of impact that I can achieve.
Does that
through
does does that make you more visible to Sadhguru now that you are full time?
Not at all. I'm just a small speck somewhere.
Look,
so for example, he came to Sydney
yes, I know.
last year.
Yes.
He was at the ICC, and we had around 8,000 participants attending. But I wasn't even inside the hall during the program. I was outside the hall. I was a part of what we call the materials team. So we were, running around, moving things here and there. But so I didn't really get to see Sadhguru even when he came to Sydney. But it somehow it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I agree.
When you're in that space, you see 8,000 people just blissed out.
I agree.
Who cares?
It's almost magical,
if
isn't
they
it?
see Sadhguru or not. Yeah.
I agree. So I'll come back to a common question that I see a lot around me, and obviously on social media. The youngsters today, young kids as young as 10 years, 12 years, they're dealing with depression, mental health issues, aggression, mood swings. Can yoga address these symptoms in youngsters? Obviously, there's impact of social media, but how do you perceive this yoga as a tool or a medium to help them normalize as a young kid?
I mean, the answer to that is absolutely yoga can help. But I think, see, we all have a reasonable understanding about why society is kind of messing things up for our kids, right? But I guess as parents, we also have that responsibility to live as an example to them, to sort of manage yourself with it without being influenced by what's happening around you. And I think that is the gift that sort of yoga has to offer, to give you that access to that space within yourself, which is untouched by the outside. And I think for children growing up in environment like Australia, it's how they receive it which would make a difference to them. If they see it as some sort of ancient practice from India, I don't think they're going to be very interested in pursuing it. But if they really see it as a tool that can, make them achieve pretty much anything that they want to achieve, they will see it differently. And that's where, parents play a big role. I often tell parents whose children come for the children's program that it's only when the parents are also doing some daily practice of yoga that the kids are likely to keep it up. Otherwise, they might come for a program, do it for some time, and it will
I think
fall off.
I completely agree, and I think small activities like just breathing exercise in the morning, we try to do on the weekends. That exercise alone leads to some sort of stability and some sort of calmness for a couple of hours. So I just try to imagine if we do it on a regular basis, obviously the impact is going to be profound.
Yes. And I think here is where Isha is very different as an organization, because the way in which we teach practices, yoga, pranayam, and so on, it's very structured and very, very carefully thought through. We wouldn't offer something, just completely random. We look at, so for example, for the children's program, we offer very basic practices, not very advanced practices, very basic practices, which can bring about very deep benefits for children. And yeah, as your journey sort of progresses, you can all obviously move on to more advanced practices. But this is where Isha is different, because in other styles of yoga or modern yoga, I find there's a lot of distortion and a lot of sort of trying to do something, trying to achieve a certain goal without building a strong foundation, which can cause more damage than well-being.
Got it. What is the right age to start participating in the programs that Isha Foundation runs?
So generally, the children's program, as I said, is a very sort of light set of practices, and those can be done from the ages of 7 to 12.
Okay.
But most of the, like let's say within Hatha Yoga, which is what I'm certified to teach, most of the more powerful practices can be started from the age of, say, 14.
14.
Yeah.
So what is the starting point? What does a person start with at that age? What is that program, the first program called? And if you can take me through at least the first 3 or 4 programs of the transition, I think that would be good for the audience as well.
At what age?
Let's say start from 14.
14. So at the age of 14, one can learn the practice of either Surya Kriya or Yogasanas or Angamartana. These are the 3 core Hatha Yoga practices. Hatha being the physical branch of yoga. So Angamartana actually can be learned from 8 and above. Angamartana is a more fitness and strength oriented practice, more physically demanding, but excellent for kids who are into sports and dance and things like that. Surya Kriya and Yogasanas can be learned from the age of 14 and above. These have a deeper spiritual impact, not only in terms of balancing the system, but also enhancing your energy levels, mental focus, and clarity, and bringing a certain stillness to the body and mind, which is again a quality that I don't think anything else in modern society sort of cultivates in terms of education or whatever social exposure that people have. Stillness is not really celebrated or recognized as something essential. Yeah, so apart from these physical Hatha Yoga practices, then there is the inner engineering program, which is offered from the age of 15 and above.
Okay.
So this is probably the most popular program of Isha. The logos on the back of this shirt. So inner engineering is a program in which you can learn a very powerful meditation practice called Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya. It's a very long name. It's a 21-minute practice, which is again structured in a certain way that when you do it every day, it sort of keeps evolving, growing into something more and more powerful. But it essentially helps to create a certain chemistry of blissfulness within the system. Because Sadhguru says that happiness is not the goal of life. It should be the basis of your life. Because only when you are happy can you even function in a better way, right? So yeah, that's again something that we cover in our introduction when we talk about what yoga can do for you, is this approach that we don't see relaxation or happiness as something to pursue, but it is something more basic. Yeah.
And how long is this inner engineering program?
The inner engineering program is offered in various formats. It's offered as an online program, which is very convenient for people who live in, let's say, remote areas and so on. That's a 7 sessions online program. In cities where we offer it in person, like in Sydney, it's offered as a 4-day program called Inner Engineering Total. That's usually Thursday and Friday evening, 6 to 9 p.m., something like that. And Saturday, Sunday is a full day program.
Got it. So now that we have come so far, what I'm understanding is that it's pretty convenient. It is designed so that working professionals can also easily be part of these. So my next question was, again, because many of the students are working professionals, and obviously the work environment is quite challenging nowadays. So how do they balance their spiritual journey with the demands of the modern life? Can you shed some light on that? Because I want people to know about it.
Well, so if you do the inner engineering program, you only have to make time to do the program. But after that, on a daily basis, it's very, very easy to incorporate the practice into your day. It only takes 21 minutes. And you do a few preparatory practices before that, which take another maybe 10 minutes. And yeah, I think the benefit that's something that everyone can manage, right?
Yes.
30 minutes a day. And the benefit it gives you is, as I said, it's incomparable to what else you could do to manage your stress or whatever.
Yeah. So I think I'm really curious to know, because in work environment nowadays, it's not just about one person doing job of many people. The workforce is shortening, but the work is growing. And at the same time, you are also subject to the office politics, the pressure of timelines. Can we safely assume that doing certain programs from Isha Foundation helps to manage them a little bit better than they would otherwise do? Is there something you want to add value to?
Absolutely. I think another important thing about yoga in the context of relationships and how you connect with people around you is that it makes you recognize people as life. Essentially, we're all just life, right? Nothing more than that. And how we sort of, if we all recognize that, if we're all in that state, in that zone, then there's no sort of conflict between individuals, right? So yoga sort of helps you to take that journey towards that space within yourself. And when you're in an environment where, let's say, people are very competitive, and there's a lot of potential for friction to happen between individuals, even if there's like, I don't know, 100 people who are in that sort of rat race mode, I think if there's one person who's not, makes a difference, right? So yeah, it's just a question of how many people can sort of take that step.
I can tell you, one of my friends who's into yoga, over the years, he has become more accepting. He pauses when he comes to a point where there's friction. He takes his time to respond back. And he's not defensive. That is a significant shift from his own personality, which by nature he's aggressive.
Yeah.
But in my life, I've seen someone actually go through the transition. And every time I sit with him, he says it's because of the yoga. He actually gets into intense yoga practices.
Okay.
But it has helped him a lot dealing. He still is in the corporate world, but I think he's more powerful to deal with such scenarios than just, a normal person like me or someone else would do. So my other question would be that my job here is to tell the world that this is an important part of life, which probably is not still mainstream. Something like you need people to inspire you. You need someone around you to tell you that this is also something that matters.
Yeah.
Beyond our own, passion for the aggrandizement of material pursuits. So, what would you advise the youngsters or the professionals on why they should be treading this path of spiritualism, yoga, and obviously, I assume you look at it as a essential part of life, almost like breathing. Why would they go this path?
Because see, as a science, yoga has evolved over thousands of years. I know today maybe it has sort of a religious flavor to it, but essentially it is something that has emerged from a very, very deep and thorough understanding of the human mechanism. And it's not a belief system or anything like that. So, and that's, in fact, that's why it has worked, and that's why it has been so popular, irrespective of, in spite of so many centuries of, oppression and India being sort of conquered and so on. It's still something that is so powerful within India and outside India, because it's it's a very deep science. It's based in very deep understanding of the system, and I think the more you do it, the more you sort of realize that, not as an intellectual understanding, but as an experiential, subjective understanding. And I think that's what makes a difference in the modern world, is that, people who don't want to do something just because someone tells them to do it, or because it's considered holy, or whatever. It's just marketed in a certain way.
Yes.
But they want something that subjectively you have to experience. What is it doing for you? We can talk about it as much as we want to, but unless you do it and see what it's doing for you, you don't know what it is, right?
Yeah. So some of my some examples of how my friends tell me how it is benefiting them, including myself. I do yoga as much as I can on a regular basis, mostly breathing exercises. I think one of the things is that the anxiety is going up over a period of time, right from the age where you force your kids to get good academic scores. You want them to be still while they are still frisking and going through those shots on the mobiles. And then obviously the sleep patterns are disturbed, not just because of gadgets, also because of so much going on in your mind. With yoga, what has happened for many people around me, including myself, is that we are now able to take a pause and then focus on the goals. We have become more tranquil inside. Obviously, it's a journey, and it's not easy also to reach to this stage where we are today, just trying to balance and see how much we can, how much peace we can acquire using the ways that we approach. And what has also happened is that the medical benefits are also tremendous when it comes to managing their emotions, blood pressure. So one is obviously the advantages that are talked about, but there are significant health advantages if you look at it. And I have had people who say that it is the only path, it is the only way of life. People have gone to these extremes.
Yeah.
Because they felt that what were they doing for so many years? Why didn't they start doing it early on? And it is not something that 50-year-olds,
including me,
including you, right? So 21 years when you got your first exposure. So I believe everyone should give some time to it. And not because you want to be at certain age before you start doing it, but because you feel the benefit of it in our day-to-day life as well.
Correct. And now that you mentioned it, that's another very important difference about why yoga is so special, is that it's not just a physical practice. Even though I may be teaching Hatha Yoga, the Hatha Yoga practices that I teach, they don't just make you more flexible or stronger. Those are the most basic sort of benefits. They work on such a deeper level. Even if you look at those benefits, flexibility and strength, it's considered the most basic thing in fitness, right? Even those benefits are more holistic. It's not focused on one muscle or one part of the body. It's focused on the whole body. But beyond that, it also impacts your mind, how you think, how you feel, and how you experience life, how you relate to people around you. So there's so many layers to the practice, which again, as I said, it's something that is subjective, and you can feel it maybe when you go for your first class, or it may happen in a few weeks or few months or whatever, but the potential is definitely there for everyone. It doesn't apply to a certain culture or type of person. Yeah.
So I've had this one example I also want to share is, this was shared by one of the friends. She said that there was another example of a person who got tremendous back pain because of constantly sitting in office. And obviously, a lot of us are having it, and we tend to ignore it till it reaches a point where you have to start visiting a doctor. He came to a stage where he could barely sit. He started doing yoga, and it benefited him so much. He turned a full-time yoga instructor. So I'm saying there are extreme stories as well, why people change the path of life because of what impacted them. Coming back to technology, AI, there's all this talk about social media, AI, all that. Have you started embracing that, and how do you see technology impacting the way the yoga and spirituality is delivered in future?
So AI is definitely useful in so many aspects of what we do. We also use it as an organization wherever we can. But I guess the essence of yoga is something very human and very personal, and that cannot be replaced by a machine. So we do use a little bit of AI for some things, maybe a little bit of marketing or whatever, but if you do one of our programs, you'll see that it's a very personal, very human experience.
Makes sense. But I thought I'll touch upon it because every time you start talking to your colleagues, they're just talking about AI. Now, another question I had in my mind was that many religious organizations, they face criticism because of their practices or the ideologies. And Sadhguru is no different. So how do you respond to any criticism that you face, or because you are with Isha Foundation, or people talk about Sadhguru? Do you even see that? And if you see, how do you manage it?
I just saw another very good video. I'll share it with you, where one of my juniors from IIM Calcutta spoke about his journey. He's now a brahmachari, a monk at the Isha Yoga Center. And he spoke that conversation was largely focused on, it was with a journalist from India, and it was largely focused on some of the allegations against Sadhguru and Isha, which keep coming up from time to time. And it was very interesting what he said. So just paraphrasing from what he said, but essentially it's, someone's trying to control the narrative. No one's really interested in the truth. If people were interested in the truth, it's always available. You can always go to the ashram, do a program, and experience it for yourself, and experience the people, the space for yourself. But people like to believe what they read online and form assumptions, and yeah, and yeah, we know that's how the world works. So unfortunately, a lot of irresponsible journalists and various other people sort of use that to their advantage.
Maybe because it gets more views than the usual
Exactly.
videos.
Correct. So in that conversation, for example, he was talking about how, let's say, this elephant corridor issue has
I've seen that
come
video.
up so many times, and
Yes.
it has been clarified so many times that there is no such elephant corridor anywhere close to the ashram. But people still keep talking about that. But on the other hand, one of the many projects that Isha is involved in back in India is called Gramotsava. It's a festival of rural culture by bringing sports into the lives of people in rural societies and so on. And that's such a massive project that everyone in India should know about, and it doesn't get the same sort of coverage in terms of how many people it's reaching and how many lives it's changing and how many people are coming out of really terrible situations, living in poverty and so on, and finding something more meaningful to do with their lives. It needs a lot more recognition.
I agree. I'm just reminded of one of the videos that I watched where you mentioned about in your own studio you had a challenge with retaining good instructors. I'm surprised by the fact that Isha Foundation has thousands of volunteers. I don't know, there's some 10,000-15,000 volunteers across the world.
Few million, probably.
Few million.
Yeah.
How could a Sadhguru done it? People who are committed, he doesn't monitor, he doesn't micromanage, but they are doing it and they are so passionate about it, even though he may not directly know them. I just can't fathom it's not how he would have done this magic.
Yeah, it's not just him, right? Because the organization is so big. There are so many people that Sadhguru has created over the years who we, within the organization, we don't see them as any different from Sadhguru. They might not be going around, claiming to be enlightened or something, but in our interactions with them, in how they inspire us, we don't see them as anything less. And it's not really about the person after a point. It's about a certain quality that I think every human has within themselves, but somehow we don't put ourselves in situations where that quality emerges often. And yeah, the ashram, for example, it's a space where everyone is there for that purpose. They're there for their growth, for their evolution, to become better human beings. And when you see the people in terms of the capability, what they're able to do, it just blows your mind. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about Abhishek as a person. What is your own personal mantra or philosophy in life that guides you, that keeps you awake and that keeps you going in your life?
Um, I was just listening to this song. As I was mentioning earlier, my favorite band is Tool.
Yeah.
This song called Parabola, which I really like. And every time I sort of have an important meeting or something, I sort of listen to that song while driving because it pumps me up. And yeah, it's a nice line from that song. It's yeah, celebrate this chance to be alive and breathing.
Nice.
So I think that's
Beautiful summary. Beautiful summary of.
where we're going.
I agree. Um. So, uh, one of the questions that some of my uh, friends had it when they came to know that I've invited you is they're curious to know what does your day or a week look like.
Hmm.
What, you know what I mean? So they're keen to know that. How do you progress throughout the day and the week?
So being a parent, of course, right now, because my son is just 4 years old, it's a little topsy-turvy. It has been for the last few years. But let's say in an ideal scenario, so for example, when I travel for these programs, then my schedule is very different. Typically waking up at around 3.
3.
Yeah. So that I can do at least 1 to 2 hours of practice before I teach.
And what time do you sleep?
Oh, 10. So
10.
yeah. And yeah, as I was saying, in an ideal scenario, I do all my Hatha Yoga practices and my Kriyas, so breathing practices, which takes maybe 5 hours or so altogether. And a few other meditation practices, which are scattered through the day, which takes another, maybe 1 hour altogether. And yeah, what do I do the rest of the time? Eating, sleeping, basic stuff. And of course, volunteering, which is the core of my work, I guess. Yeah. So that's outside of the teaching. I'm also involved in various other sort of projects and activities of Isha. So I keep, doing what I can. Multiple things.
Are you still pursuing your hobby?
Music?
Music or anything else? Because that change sometimes perks you up, isn't it?
Yeah. See, occasionally I might stay at another volunteer's home where they might have a guitar lying around. So I go and pick it up and play for a bit. But yeah, I still sometimes, have, like, I think when we met for the first time as well, I still have that dream somewhere in my subconscious of, starting a band and
Yeah.
changing the world through music. But
So for the audience, we met 8 years back.
yeah.
But it's just that, we are meeting after a long time in person. So which is a great experience for me. I want to ask another question to you is about, do you see that? But I see, because I work closely with kids a lot, they're lacking that strong willpower to take some initiative.
Mm.
Do you think yoga can help build that at an early age? Self-control and ability to, set a path for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think as you mentioned a few times, devices and usage and so on, it brings a sort of makes your mind a little distracted and harder to focus on things. But there is also another aspect of yoga which it brings a certain integrity to your, thought and what you want to do and so on. So Definitely, it can make a difference. I've seen that in so many of my students who have been practicing regularly. I see that they are quite intense. Even as children, they carry a certain intensity with regards to what they want to do and how they go about doing it without getting too scattered.
And can I ask you this question where, especially in Indian community and Asian community, there's always that pressure of getting good marks. Have you ever seen, because yoga became one of the part of life, it did reflect in improvement in other activities, including studies, getting better scores? Is it something that I can assume, or there's no linkage between the two?
No, so like I said, it's giving you a certain mastery over your body and mind. The practices, what you choose to do with that is really up to you. You know, you can apply that in your studies or in sports or in arts or whatever you want to do, whatever is important to you.
And going back when you were trying for these competitive exams, there was no yoga in your life. What kept you? How did you motivate yourself? It's quite rigorous. You need to just commit yourself for really long hours. How did you commit yourself to ensuring you get good scores? Is it parent pressure or your own desire to be, the best institutions?
I think it was not so much parent pressure, but more peers. I think it just so happened that I studied in a school where everyone was studying for IIT, and it became a sort of culture, I guess. You know, we were very competitive about it. How long you stay up at night, how much of Irodov you donated, or whatever.
Don't tell me.
Those kind of things. So that was that was a big deal at that time.
So I when I was preparing for IIT exam, I did join an institute which was called Irodov Institute.
Oh,
And they take pride in saying that we help you solve the complete Irodov book.
okay.
All the questions. So yes, I mean those are the days. I read a book couple of years back, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And then there is someone named Ravi Subramaniam who wrote the book, I Bought the Ferrari. Right? The crux of the book was that in order to sell a Ferrari, you need to own a Ferrari, which means you need to be rich, you need to have that material wealth before you turn a monk. The reason I said this is that in your case, sometimes do you feel that FOMO of material wealth when everybody around you is in a rush of buying expensive cars, bigger houses? Have you ever felt that inside you?
See, on the surface, I have to be honest and say yes, on the surface. But within me, as I said, that's really not a priority. You know, it's just something that we have to see it as what it is. You know, where you live, what you own. These aren't things that should define you as a person, I think. Yeah, I think it's your experience of life that is the most important thing. And I've invested, for lack of a better word, heavily in that direction. So I know with the practices that I have gained, I know that I can be comfortable, in any situation without struggling too much. Yeah, and I think that's available for everyone as well. It just needs that you need some inspiration to change your focus. Otherwise, yeah, everyone's just stuck in the rat race because
I agree.
they think that's
So when I was coming for this interview, my elder son asked me to ask you this question. if you could go back in time,
Mm.
would you still stick the same path, or you would do something different?
Wow, that's a very nice question. Well, you can't go back in time. um, but if I could go back in time, maybe I would have started yoga earlier. I think that's probably the only thing, because I can see from one day to the next, what it's doing to me, how it's allowing me to grow and evolve. And yeah, I wouldn't want that process to be delayed. But having said that, I mean, since you cannot travel in time, I think it is the life that I've lived and the choices that I've made that have brought me to where I am today. So no regrets. It's all good. Yeah.
Great. And the other question I had was, what are your top 3 advice / suggestion to youngsters? We both belong to a slightly different generation, and today the kids have much more exposure and obviously much more issues. And what are your advice to the youngsters of today, what they can start doing? As you said, you could have started yoga earlier.
Yeah.
But then it's yoga is one part that defines you.
Yeah.
So
beyond yoga, I would say spending time in nature, I think, is something essential for everyone, especially youngsters who live in cities, might not have that much of an opportunity. I think parents should make that a priority to give them that exposure. And volunteering in whatever capacity that you can, doing something that is completely meaningless to you, but makes a difference to someone, a complete stranger. I think that is also something that every child needs to experience. And yeah, one more thing I'll say is to not seek happiness in superficial things. Yeah, I don't know how you could get children to do that, but I try every day with my son. For example, like just this morning, we were in a playground, and there was this swing which was like a large wheel with 4 ropes, and it was big enough for him to sort of lie down on it and swing back and forth. And I think normally, he would not feel comfortable doing that. He'd get a little scared or something. But today he was like so relaxed, and I was just wondering, like, he doesn't want to get up. What's going on? And there was no one else in the park, so I also lied down on that swing, and I was just looking at the sky and the trees, sort of going back and forth. It was, yeah,
So
just blissful,
I agree.
free.
I agree. That's the best time you can do, spending time with your kids.
Yeah.
I remember in one of your interviews you mentioned when Sadhguru was struggling with the mic, and you were there around him and you heard his.
Yeah.
Could that be your life-changing moment, or the one where?
That's one moment. Yeah, I can talk about that. So this was in Melbourne in 2013, I think, when he came here for an engineering program. And unfortunately, as volunteers, we were not that intense at the time, so we couldn't gather a big crowd. We had a small group of maybe 300 participants or so in this hall in Melbourne, and I was doing the AV for that event. So behind the mixer, coordinating with the camera guys and so on. And one of the camera people had a different sort of microphone, which wouldn't connect to the receiver that was wirelessly connected to Sadhguru's microphone. So we either had to change the receiver or the microphone or figure something out. So the camera guy wasn't cooperating. He didn't have the right cable or whatever. So then I tried asking Sadhguru, and he just came to the venue, and it was like just before the start of the event. And for me, that was a very stressful thing to do, to walk up to him and ask him if we could change his microphone or something. But yeah, as you mentioned, when I did manage to get a little closer to him, I did notice that he was breathing in a very extremely deep and slow way. Yeah, it was quite surprising because I still remember it. But at the same time, it was quite inspiring to see someone in that state of extreme sort of calmness, relaxation, just before going on stage. And yeah, the microphone. he didn't even speak to me. He just looked at me, and I asked him, like, can we change the microphone? But Sadhguru wears the microphone inside his beard, right? So he just did that, and yeah, I came back. But we figured something else out, and the cameraman made some alternative arrangements, so that was not compromised. But that was an interesting experience for me.
I know, and there's moments when you idolize someone and you meet them, you don't know, it's almost like the time comes to a halt, and you're still telling yourself that it is happening.
Yeah,
it's surreal, and it's almost like being in a state of trance, if I have to put it in perspective. Look, I learned a lot from today's session. It was a pleasure having you here, and I'm sure there are many takeaways our audience would have taken note of after today's session. Thank you very much, Abhishek. It was a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much.
Namaskar.
A pleasure all mine. Namaskar.
Thank you, everyone, for making it so far. As we wrap up this conversation with Abhishek, I'm reminded that success isn't just about what we achieve on the outside, it's what we nurture on the inside. Abhishek's journey from IIT and IIM to Isha Foundation shows us that true fulfillment comes when we align with purpose, not just ambition. If today's episode sparked even a moment of stillness in you or made you rethink what success really means, that's the start of your own journey within. Thank you, Abhishek, for sharing your wisdom, your story, and your energy with us. And to everyone listening, may you find your balance and may you search for meaning. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep racking your brains. Please do share this video with your friends, family. Do like and subscribe. Thank you very much.